All right, now I want to talk about some stuff that I watched recently, namely a little show you might have heard of called Chainsaw Man. So this is Kat and I spent like 2 days watching the anime. It's only like 12 episodes, so that's not too long. And I really enjoyed it. Have you ever noticed that if I do like a really long intro to something, that means that I don't like it? That I don't just want to like come out and say it? I don't know why I do that, but if I like something, I'll just say that I liked it immediately. I think I've always been like that. No, I really enjoyed Chainsaw Man. I didn't watch it not because I thought it looked bad, but just because it was... Honestly, I'm going to be completely transparent. It's because I am like kind of a contrarian when it comes to consuming things. Not my opinions on things, just consuming them. If something is really popular, it makes me way less motivated to watch it or read it or play it or whatever, rather than if I had discovered it organically. But if I do actually watch the popular thing, it really doesn't have much of an effect on my enjoyment of it. Sometimes if I really hate something and it's popular and I'm just being swarmed with praise for it, it can exacerbate my feelings for it. But in general, I'm not like that thing's popular. Yeah, it's bad. I'm not like an actual contrarian in my opinions. I don't think I am. I try not to be. I try to be honest as to like how it's hitting me. And Chainsaw Man hit pretty good. So this is a manga that I heard about for a really long time. It's running for a while. I think it's still going on. And the anime had a ton of hype behind it. I knew people loved it. And I also I've heard so much random shit about it. I've seen people cosplaying characters from it. But I really could never get a handle on what it's about. Partially because I never really bothered to check. And partially because a lot of it just seemed really... I saw a lot of out of context stuff that was like, okay. There's like a girl, she's got devil horns and she sits down on a toilet at one point. There's a guy... Okay. So people would be like, Denji is such a cool character. He's so awesome, haha. He just wants to touch boobs. And now having watched the show, just the first season, we want to watch the movie, the Reze Arc movie, next, while it's still in theaters. Having watched the show, wow, that is like really selling Denji short as a character. And maybe people do that because they're talking to other fans of the show and like, haha, it's funny to describe it like that. But wow, he is like a way more interesting character than that gives him credit for. I got like a weird, I don't know, I've always gotten such a weird impression from people who like the show just because of the way that they talk about it. But I found that the story is actually replete with really interesting, kind of challenging writing and a lot of great thematic and like visual imagery. It has a really interesting setting. I really enjoy the dialogue and the way that the characters interact with each other. The rules of the world and what's really going on I'm really fascinated by it. I didn't have the feeling of like, oh, I love this, I super love this while watching it. I was actually just like, I'm really interested in this. I just want to see where it goes next. It wasn't like a hype thing. I was just like, wow, I wonder, I really want to know what happens next. What am I going to get in the next episode? And yeah, I was like on the edge of my seat for when he finally touched those tits. I guess this is going to be a spoiler for the first season of the anime. So you've been warned. I would recommend it. I think it's a genuinely really good show. If you find that your tastes align with mine, then maybe that's sign enough for you to go watch it. So Chainsaw Man takes place in well, at first it appears to be a contemporary setting in Tokyo, Japan. Later you kind of find out that this is a bit of an alt history thing. Like most things in the world are the same from what I can tell. but some things are different because of aspects of the setting that are clear. Like, for the most part, history has gone a certain way, but there's little things like the Soviet Union is still around, and little things like that. And I imagine over the course of the series, there'll be other little hints and stuff. And yeah, I can see maybe why history would be a little bit different, because this is a world with devils in it. Devils are a really cool concept. They're essentially a take on the traditional Japanese yokai. Yokai are kind of a catch-all term for a Japanese folklore spirits and things. Spirits and assorted otherworldly things, like supernatural things. And they encompass a lot of things like ghosts to weird phenomena to like gods or embodiments of things can be yokai. It's a bit of a catch-all. But one of the ways that something becomes a yokai, like for instance a river, or a river or a concept or something like that, is essentially that it just sticks around long enough. Once something, there's kind of an idea that it ties into its relationship to human beings, almost as if the longer that something is around and people are aware of it and know about it, there's almost like this passive, like psychic unconscious. And over time, that concept builds up until it manifests in the form of a yokai. A yokai of a river or this forest or this tree or something like that. This is also partially, I forget who was talking about this, but I read an interview one time with some Japanese game developer where he said that one of the reasons he thinks Japan pumps out so many things like Pokemon of just or so many properties that have like 1 billion characters, like themed characters, is that this concept that you could take any kind of concept or idea or thing or place and create some kind of a character that represents it is just really pervasive in Japanese culture and mythology. So devils in Chainsaw Man kind of exist it's a really similar idea, but they're specifically based off of fear. So if enough people are afraid of something, if the collective fear of a concept is great enough, it births some kind of like supernatural entity that represents that thing. The big one that they are hunting throughout the show, or that is like the long-term goal that they've at least established in the first season, is the gun devil. And it basically, they explain that as firearms and war became more prevalent throughout modern history, fear of guns became a more common thing. And gun deaths and gun violence. And then specifically, I believe they say in America, there was a terrorist incident that is totally not 9/11. But that is... Oh, I'm being propositioned for pizza right now. Hang on. Pizza secured. What was I talking about? There was a terrorist attack in America that's like... it's like a building with smoke coming out of it. But it wasn't 9/11. It wasn't like a plane crashed. Maybe that would make the plane devil or something. But it was an armed takeover of some kind. Firearms were involved, and this big global thing, this big attack, was the straw that broke the camel's back, and that created the gun devil. And the gun devil, which we haven't seen, at least it's not in the anime yet, in like 1 second shot some kind of projectile or just force, some kind of power, because they've all got crazy anime powers that represent the thing that they are, that like went, as I understand it, basically just like went around the entire world, like in a circumference, and killed 1.2 million people in an instant, just completely obliterated. Obviously, that increased the fear of guns. And so this is like enemy numero uno for the various devil hunting agencies around the world. Of course, this main one is the Tokyo branch of Japan's public devil safety, whatever. They are the ones who take. They're apparently private devil hunters who, because they're private, have the option to turn down contracts or jobs. But the public division, they got to take anything, which means that they have a very high mortality rate and it's rough. Like, most people don't last a year or something. They're like the guardsmen in 40K. But that's getting a little bit ahead. That's like the basic setup of the world. The main character is this guy named Denji, who is a teenager. He's like 16 years old. And Denji is basically fucked. He was born fucked, which I thought was really cool for an anime protagonist to not be like a normal guy. I think it's kind of cool to watch a show that's an anime about someone who's 16 and he's not like a normal, relatable guy who's just like you. He's totally screwed over from birth. His mother dies at a young age of a heart condition that they strongly suggest in the first episode that he also inherited. And that is probably going to come for him fairly young. That he is definitely not going to be able to pay for treatment for because his father got into a bunch of debt with the Yakuza and then hanged himself when he couldn't pay it off. And all of the debt was transferred over to Denji, who was basically forced to scrounge and scrap and struggle to pay off his father's debt at the age of like 11. So Denji is fucked. Like, Denji is a guy who never had a chance and would have completely slipped through the cracks. No one's coming to save him. No one's coming to help. And he does not have the agency in his own life as a child who's just like the victim of the world and his parents and his situation. He gets fucked, right? Except the one little miracle that happens in his life is on the same day that he's saddled with this debt, he meets a little itty bitty chainsaw dog named Pochita, or that he names Pochita. Pochita is he's the chainsaw devil, but he's a cute little guy, and he's got a chainsaw. He's like a funny little dog, but he's got a chainsaw on his head. And Denji basically uses Pochita to do odd jobs, like they do logging jobs and stuff like that. But mainly, the stuff that pays the best is devil hunting. So you have like a middle schooler putting himself at risk to pay off debt to the Yakuza. Like, nothing about this is fun or cool. And Denji basically scrapes by with all the money that he makes, almost all the money he makes, going towards paying off his debt, a few bills, a little bit of food, other stuff that he owes. And he enjoys, in quotes, a very meager existence, basically living day to day. The first episode is him getting betrayed by the dude who he owes the debt to, who has made a pact with the zombie devil. And Denji is basically, he does, again, no fucking chance. He's betrayed. He's left for dead. But at the last moment, as he's been tossed into a dumpster, his dead body's been tossed into a dumpster, Pochita makes a deal with him, which I think is actually really interesting. There's this whole concept. One of the big themes of the show is transactional relationships and what people are willing to do to get what they want and why. And there's tons of, like, the most literal example of it is with the devils, which has there's a thematic level to it. There's a literal level to it. When the zombie devil comes out and he's got these hordes of zombies that he's controlling, he goes on like a very on the nose monologue about how all these people want power and they get it, but it turns them into shambling, mindless zombies. What's interesting is that Pochita and Denji were partners for years at that point, but there was never an actual like demonic pact between them. It was entirely goodwill from one to the other. It was just caring about each other that would give was what they exchanged. But Pochita basically makes a devil pact, which has actual supernatural implications with Denji. That as he is dying, Pochita is going to fuse into Denji's body and replace his heart and turn him into like a fused devil-human hybrid thing, which gives him chainsaw powers that lets him fucking shoot chainsaws out of his arms and his face and shit. Denji gets picked up by one of a public devil hunter named Makima, and I say that people sell Denji short, I think what like by just saying he's just a guy who wants to touch boobs. What Denji really wants that he doesn't really understand is a human connection. He wants a human connection that's fulfilling, and he wants like love. He understands what love is in a very childish, simple way, because everyone who loved him died when he was a kid. And the one thing that he's had, the only other thing that he really had was Pochita, which is like a pet relationship, right? So as far as other human beings go, everyone that he interacts with is like wants something from him. And Denji, so when he yearns, I hate that the word yearning has been corrupted by Twitter. I feel cringe saying it, but I'll say it anyway. When he yearns for a human connection, it manifests in the most like I guess like surface level dumb way. Is he gets like, I want a girlfriend. I want to kiss and make out with a girlfriend and touch her boobies. Wouldn't that be so awesome? Because he's like 16 years old and he lives in a shack. And over the course of the show, oh my god, okay, what I really like about his character is that he actually gets a lot of the things that he wants, but they are not what he thought they would be. And I think that's really cool to do to a character. A lot of, because this is a shonen. Yeah, it's a shonen. A lot of shonen manga have the characters set out with some kind of end goal. And every hardship that they encounter on the way is just like, there are mini goals that they then reach on the ladder up to the top goal, to the top of the ladder. And Denji has a really different kind of arc, at least in the first season, where he gets the things that he wants, but they are not nearly as satisfying as he thought they would be. And he has to like figure that out. He has to learn lessons largely on his own. Because again, no one around him, even when he gets inducted into the public sector of the Devil Hunters, no one around him really cares for his well-being, outside of just like keeping him alive for survival reasons because he's an asset to their team. So Makima appears and finds him in this warehouse. And he is still like on the verge of death because using the chainsaws consumes like a fair amount of his blood. He has to give up his blood to use them. Maybe because Pochita's like his heart now, literally and figuratively. And Makima is like an angel. Makima is literally, it's like mercy coming down from heaven gif, where she is like, I am going to give you affection. I'm going to give you food. It's such an interesting scene when they take a rest stop on the way back to Tokyo. And Denji is like, oh, I don't know. I don't need anything. And she's like, I'll just buy it for you. And it's not even like expensive food. He's just like, he is not used to people giving him the things. He's not used to accepting things. So she buys him food and he's like, this is fucking crazy. He's not like even resistant to it once it happens. He's just like, wait, what? He's just not used to it. But he thinks it's awesome when it does happen. I really enjoy how simple his reactions are and how much of like a normal guy he is. Denji has really normal priorities, which kind of puts him at odds with some of the other characters who have much more like deep involved backstories and goals and stuff. Denji has really simple goals, but they tell you a lot about his character. So he's now in a position where Makima's like wants to recruit him for this like special division of the Devil Hunters. And he's like, hey lady, as long as you let me like put my head in your lap and you like buy me food and stuff and give me like a place to sleep, I will do fucking anything you say. She like has him bark like a dog for her. Makima's definitely like a bad person. I can tell that immediately. she does not act in good faith at all. She comes off as extremely manipulative, but in a way that Denji is almost like willfully ignorant to. Like, she probably has a lot in common with the Yakuza guy that he was indebted to. She's just nice to him instead. She just uses, like, love and affection instead of, like, threats of murder. Although she does eventually. She say that, like, well, down the line, like, if you don't do your job right, we will have to kill you because we can't just have you walking around as, like, a human devil hybrid thing. And he's like, that's fine. That's cool. I don't care. I like how dysfunctional a lot of the characters are in their relationships. He immediately gets assigned to hang out or basically like work under this more established devil hunter named Aki. And Aki is a much more like somber, sober character. Denji's like a punk. He can barely read. Like he can't read kanji at all, almost at all. He probably doesn't have over a third grade education. He doesn't know a bunch of basic facts about the world. And again, his whole upbringing is super fucked up. Aki is like a much more kind of by the book guy. He's really stoic and he doesn't like putting up with Denji's shit. I love the scene when they're in an alleyway. Like Aki brings him to the alleyway and he basically just tells him to quit and he tries to beat him up and then he just starts kicking him in the balls. It's awesome. It also sets up a great moment at the end of the season when they kick some guy's balls together. Oh, that's great stuff too. Like Denji starts to slowly kind of morph Aki a little bit. He starts to change Aki and the way that he thinks and the way that he acts a little bit. He kind of loosens him up a bit. They reference it early on in a scene with Makima where she asks him if Denji is making him change his attitude a bit, and he denies it. But you could see like these little ways in which Denji's more positive aspects start to rub off on him, and he allows himself to have a little bit of fun. Like everyone, it's great because everyone gets off on a bad foot with each other. Everyone's like really at odds and they hate each other. There's Power. She's the girl with the devil horns, and she's a fiend. She is a devil who, I think it's like a fiend is a devil who has possessed a human, and like now lives in them, which is different from making a pact, and it's different from what Denji is. But. Power like is a devil. She's the blood devil. She's just living in someone else's body. I don't know. Maybe they'll say where. So Denji's like whole goal is that he wants to touch boobs and stuff. So after some misadventures with Power, where she tries to kill him and stuff, on their first day out on the job together, they eventually start living together, kind of understanding each other a little bit more. I think Power has a really fun personality because she basically acts like she's better than everyone all the time because she's actually like a devil. And she doesn't understand human desires. And she kind of laughs at a lot of human weaknesses. She's very like selfish and she does a lot of things really only for her own gain. Even little things like eating all the food. She's almost like spiteful. She does things that are like straight up spiteful, like clogging the toilet on purpose when she starts living with Denji and Aki. Okay. So in this whole sequence, after they start living together to like increase their camaraderie, Power basically, in an earlier episode when she tried to kill him, she was like, if you get my pet cat back, I'll let you touch my boobs. And Denji does it and goes through with it, even though she actually uses it as a setup to kill him. He does actually save her cat. And she's like, okay, now you get to touch my boobs. That's the scene with her on the toilet. That's what she's sitting on the toilet so you can touch her boobs. And I love the visual metaphor for him grabbing her. I was like, okay. Chainsaw Man is a fairly mature show. Not just because it has a lot of gore and sex stuff. I'm immature in like the way that it handles a lot of things, specifically sexuality, which is something that many series, even ones for like adults, but especially ones that'll run in a magazine like Shonen Jump, will try to sanitize or skirt around or are just too uncomfortable to tackle. But I think that Chainsaw Man handles it in a really like reasonable way. I was so worried because there's like a cliffhanger of like, he's gonna touch her boobs? End episode. And I was like, are they gonna do the thing where like Aki walks in and he's like, what's going on in here? And he's like, oh, and then like the comedy music starts playing. And then no. There's like a whole scene where he goes to grab her tits. He gets 3 squeezes. He goes through with 3 squeezes. But on the first one, he's like, wait, what? And then he finds out that she pads her breasts. And she actually has a really flat chest and like a really androgynous body. and he's like, oh. And he still goes in for like 2 more feels, but he's like, yeah, that was cool, I guess. And like it's kind of neat because I can say with full confidence that the twist that Power pads her breasts is actually really fun and interesting. Because if it had just been like, this is awesome, yeah, she's got big old titties, it would have been like cool, I guess, as a progression for his character that he got something that he wanted. But it teaches him way more that it really wasn't all that it was cracked out to be. Like, this happens to a lot of people. Like, sex, especially for men, sex gets built up as this big, awesome thing. And then you have sex for the first time, and a lot of people have bad first experiences with sex. Like, my first time wasn't... It's not as bad as I've heard some other people's, but it was definitely like, oh, okay. Huh. Okay. And it's pointed out to him much later where, does this happen after he gets almost molested? There's like the next like step on the ladder, I guess, is he wants to have a kiss with, Himeno, I think is her name. There's a really cool few episodes that they spend like trapped in like the same floor of this hotel that I thought was neat. I like that arc a lot. And Himeno is this like slightly older woman. She's an adult, clearly, and she's kind of creeping. No, I wouldn't say creeping. She's a little friendly. She's friendly. She's like a fucking mess. She's like a train wreck. She has all this emotional baggage. A bunch of her partners. She's had like 5 dead partners. So she's got all this survivorship guilt and stuff. Her devil is that she makes a pact. All the devil hunters have pacts with their own devils that give them their own special powers and stuff. And Himeno's is the ghost devil. So like very subtle. She's literally, it's to control a ghost arm. Like, oh, very, very subtle. She gets to summon the ghost of something that is invisible but has a tangible stranglehold in the real world. Very subtle visualization, but cool. I love that shit. So they have this thing where they do like a work party, and almost everyone gets drunk except for Denji because he's underage. And I think it's actually really funny and cute that he decides only to drink tea and doesn't drink any alcohol. Because he totally could have. No one there suspects that he's actually 16, because who the fuck is that young in the Devil Corps? But Himeno gets super drunk, and she starts kissing on him, and for a second it's awesome, and then she starts throwing up in his mouth. And he spends the rest of the night throwing up like in the bathroom because it was so gross. And he kind of is like tired, and then she like hauls him out back to her apartment, and you're like, what's going on? And she, I think, found out that he was 16 during the party, And she like hauls him back to her apartment, throws him in bed, and like gets undressed, and she's about to have sex with him, and then I forget what happens, but something like fucks up and kills the mood. She was gonna like molest him. she was gonna molest him, and I kind of like that. I really enjoy, because she dies very shortly afterwards, and I really enjoy a writer who is able to present you with a character who is so outwardly fucked up and still just kind of force you to deal with it. And like, yeah, she's like a weird like child groomer. She like kissed up on and almost tried to fuck a teenager as a grown woman. You're just gonna have to deal with that, buddy. It really like doesn't pull punches, and it doesn't shy away from going into directions that I think a lot of people would find weird or objectionable, but not in like a trashy way. Like, again, it's really interesting for Denji's character that his first kiss and that night with all of these like supposedly formative, awesome experiences that, you know, he would imagine they'd be great, had all this dumb, awful shit around it. It's like, yeah, he had his kiss, but then she threw up in his mouth, and then he almost got molested. And like, even if he can't recognize that is like a fucked up situation to lose your virginity in, he could like you as the audience can realize that like, oh, okay, thematically, things are not what they seem. They aren't so black and white. It's not just like a universal good that he gets laid. And the show is actually bothering to take things like that seriously. Oh god, what else? Oh, speaking of Himeno and Aki, who were partners previously, I really like the metaphor that they both smoke cigarettes. Because, again, one of the overarching recurring motifs / themes throughout the show is what people are willing to sacrifice to get something. And a cigarette is like a perfect analogy for that, because it is you are killing yourself in the long run for a momentary relief, a momentary sense of relief. And you then become addicted to that momentary sense of relief in exchange for killing yourself in the long term. And then you look at like Aki, and Aki's got this sword on his back, and he can the sword, he's made two different pacts because he is so serious about killing the gun devil. He's made two pacts with two different devils, and with the sword he's made one with the cursed devil. And when he uses the cursed devil's power with the sword, he can kill anything with 3 hits, but using it dramatically shortens his lifespan. I'm not sure by how much. I don't think they state how much. But he uses it one time, and then to not even fully kill the dude that he was trying to kill. And his lifespan is now he has 2 more years to live. And it's like, oh, that's just like his cigarettes. It's just like his cigarettes. So like that stuff's all really cool. I don't know, it's just like it's a show that is I really enjoy the direction of it. I think that the direction of the anime particularly is really cool. One problem that I have with a lot of modern anime, and specifically a lot of shonen, is that stuff's just always noisy. There's just always like baby sensory video going on in the background. I feel like so many, specifically action anime and shonen stuff, are obsessed with like everything having a sound effect and a music cue, and sometimes it feels like I'm watching Johnny Test. And Chainsaw Man's just like got like a lot of quiet. It's got a lot of low-key scenes where characters are just standing around or sitting around, and they talk at like a normal pace, and they have conversations, and there isn't like a sound effect to cue you in on what you're supposed to feel for that line of dialogue. You just have to you just have to interpret it on your own. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. How much like stillness there is. I think it makes the world feel very lived in. I talked about this a while ago when I was talking about, what was I talking about? Like, I was talking about like 70s Disney movies and how much quiet there is. And it really builds out the atmosphere and makes the world feel very real and large. I feel like the world in Chainsaw Man is really big. Not just because they've set up all these little details and hints and, ooh, who are these people over here? But because when I see the world, it feels like there's a lot of stuff going on outside of where the characters are. And in between the character, like the scenes that I'm watching. And that's really cool. I think it's cool that in the anime, they did a different ending animation for every single episode with a different song. That was neat. Lots of really cool visuals. The action's great. I haven't even mentioned the action. The action is awesome. I think it's really well directed. Some of the fights are very chaotic, but I didn't feel like they were too messy. The motion is very direct and clear. You basically always know what's going on. And even when there's like all these different weird powers going on, and some of them get really abstract. But what's happening is pretty clear. Like if you don't understand something, it's an intentional part of what's going on. The writer / animators don't want you to / storyboarders, I guess. It's meant to be like vague. Or you're not sure what this person's ability is or what they're doing or how they're doing it or what's going on. Super, like, I love the honestly, I'm just a big stickler as well or I'm a big sucker for crazy anime battles in contemporary settings. I love the fake Karakura Town arc of Bleach. Well, I don't actually, but I love the aspect of it that I do love is watching these magical bitches flying over a modern Japanese city and like shooting big beam attacks and with their like stupid fuck off samurai swords and pulling out crazy abilities and smashing each other through buildings. I think it's awesome. And I think it's funny that Kubo was like, yeah, the town is just, this is a fake version of the town, so just go wild. There's no one living here. Chainsaw Man's got a lot of that. They fucking smash each other with, Denji smashed the guy with a chainsaw, he flies through like 3 buildings, boom, 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 boom. It's awesome. It hits a potent part of my brain. Is there anything else about the show I'm trying to think of that I noticed or wanted to talk about? I don't think so. I think it's basically it. I think I just really like every aspect of the show and its writing and its visuals and its animation and its pacing and its music. And it's just kind of like a winner on all fronts for me. The only thing that keeps me from speaking more definitively about it is that the first season feels very much like the first like 30 chapters, 40 chapters of a manga that's like 300 chapters long or something like that. It definitely feels like, no, I need more. I was like annoyed that there weren't more episodes because I wanted more episodes. See, this is why I'm smart. This is why I am the smartest guy in the world for waiting until there's more material, like that Reize arc movie that just came out. And then I can go read it, go watch it or whatever. And then maybe afterwards I'll read the manga or whatever. But yeah, Chainsaw Man, great characters, really interesting writing, really enjoy the world. I think that on a thematic level, the show is like a slam dunk so far. And all that shit is really interesting. I think the fact that like this is primarily, I think most people would call it an action show, and I spent like 30 minutes not even talking about the action and just talking about the characters, I think and there's a lot of action in the show. Like almost every episode has a lot of action in it. At least like 1 or 2 fight scenes. I think is a strong. I think that's actually a very strong. What's the opposite of an indictment? It's very much in its favor. Let's say that. I would highly recommend it if any of that shit sounds cool to you, or if that you would recommend it to someone else, or if you've been watching it, listening to this, and you've already watched the show. I do like it a lot.